Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. So this video is part 2 of my video series on Three.js library. In part 1 I showed you how you can add this library to your projects, and then we added a scene, a camera, and a renderer, and finally we added a cube object, and I also showed you some tips to optimize your website performance when you're using Three.js. In this video, I'm going to fix some of the errors in the final code of the previous video and tie up some loose ends there. I will basically refactor the code from the last video so that it can be easily used as a production ready boilerplate for any project that involves Three.js. So this refactoring process will also solve the errors that we were getting by the end of the last video. One quick note before we get started: if you're new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn the notifications on so that you're the first to know when I publish a new video. Okay, as always, first thing we're gonna do is to get the starter code for this video. This code is basically the finished code of the previous video, and I'll put a link to the description of video in the description of video to this GitHub repo. Make sure to click here and select the part 1 final. Part 2 final will be the final code for this video, so also you can get that from there. But if you want to follow along with this code, just do as I'm doing right now. Select the part 1 final and then code here and download the zip file or clone it. Once you do that, you can open it in your IDE of choice. I'm using VS Code here as always. First thing we do is npm install to make sure that we install all the packages in our package.json file. And once that's done, I'm going to do npm start to run the dev server. Once we do that, then we can go to localhost 3000, and you will see a few errors here. But what we did last video was basically focusing on this Three.js endpoint. If you go directly there, everything should be fine, and we still have this cube and everything there. But now we're gonna make sure that we don't get any of those errors. So for example, if I go back to home here and then I go back to Three.js, I want to make sure that everything's working fine and I can see my cube. I can't see it right now. And also when we started from the home page, we were getting this error, so we're gonna fix all those. In order to do that, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to make some basically do some refactoring. If you remember, all our front end JavaScript is under this app folder, and if by the way you don't know what these files and folders are, make sure to go and check my previous videos. There is a specific video I have about this Webpack boilerplate, and I explain everything in there. We've been adding more and more to these files and folders, so we are gonna do same thing here. We are going to add another folder here, and I explain what this is. We're gonna call it canvas. If you remember, when we added Three.js object or like a scene, what we will get is a canvas, and then everything, this cube and scene, everything is rendered on this canvas. So it makes sense to name like our 3JS component under this everything, put everything under this canvas. And we don't want to really make this file really big, because you might have some specific animations or things that are not related to 3JS for that page, but you want to keep them separate from the 3JS stuff. It helps in the long run, and you can like go and debug if there is a problem much easier. So similar to this pages here, we're gonna have an index.js here, which will be our entry point for all the canvases that we have. If you remember from the previous video, I mentioned that like you can have canvases 3JS stuff in like all your pages. So it's a good practice to create a canvas for a page when you navigate to that page, and when you're done with that page, destroy everything, get rid of everything, and then like if you have a new page which also has a new scene, you can create that scene again there. You don't want to like stack them on top of each other, or kind of like it's gonna look bad, and also the performance of the website is gonna be really affected. So that's how we're gonna do it. Basically, we're gonna create a canvas here for this 3JS endpoint, and once we navigate back to somewhere else or navigate away from this page, we're going to basically destroy all the scenes, everything, all our 3JS objects, and then make sure they're not there, and our performance, the website performance, is going to be much better. So to do that, first thing we're gonna do is we created this index.js. We will also need similar again to this pages. We're gonna create a new folder here, and I'm going to call that also 3JS, similar to pages, just to make sure that everything is consistent. And then here we're gonna have our index.js, which is gonna be the where we put all our 3JS stuff for that 3JS endpoint. And these names obviously in a website are gonna be different. You're not gonna have an endpoint 3JS. Your scenes and like objects are gonna be probably like under your about page or any other page. So just keep that in mind. I'm just like doing a demo here so that like we know where is our 3JS stuff. So that's why I specifically named this 3JS, and also that endpoint here. So we are going to first go back to our index.js file for our entry point here, and we are going to create a canvas here, and that canvas is going to basically direct us to this entry point canvas directly under canvas here. And you'll find out like the way we've organized our code, like the object-oriented programming and all that, it makes it really easy to navigate, and like don't add everything in one single file. We'll have like entries for our main JavaScript, like for each page, and also we'll have entry point, this index.js for our canvas and all the 3JS stuff that we are doing. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to create let's say 3JS canvas here, and I'm going to define that here. create 3JS canvas, and all it's gonna do is basically it's going to include the it's gonna direct to that canvas index.js file, and we can import that also here just easily using import canvas from canvas. So since it's called index.js, we don't need to like do canvas/index.js, and then this index.js is in the same level as our canvas, so we don't need to do like dot / or anything. This is enough. And what we did down here was to pass our template to the canvas page. And again, if you don't know what template is, all those things, please go back, watch my first video, and I explain everything there in the Webpack boilerplate and follow the other videos on my channel. Once we do that, the next thing we're gonna do is to go to our canvas index.js there. I'm going to write some code here. We're gonna export default class, and it's called canvas, and we're gonna have our constructor where we get our template, and then once we do that, we are going to assign that template to this template basically for this index.js file. And what we are going to do here, so this is entry point for all our 3JS related stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call a create function here, and we probably need to have access to template. We're gonna call that create function, and then if our template is equal to 3JS, we will create our 3JS for that specific page, which here is 3JS, but obviously in your case it might be different. So what we're gonna do here is just add another function, create 3JS, and then if it's not 3JS, then we're gonna destroy that. So the reason we do that is because, again, as I said before, we don't want to keep the stuff that we don't need in the navigation tree basically of our website, and we want to get rid of them. Destroy 3JS. Okay, so that's that. Then the next thing we're gonna do is in that create 3JS function here, we're gonna create our 3JS index.js file, and this is how we do it. We are going to import that from the 3JS folder that we have. So import 3JS, oops, gonna be JS from 3JS, and that's this index.file basically. So we're going to go to that index.js file, and in there, this is basically where I will have all my Three.js related stuff for this specific page. So I'm going to have my constructor, and if we go back to the pages and in our Three.js index.js file, we're gonna move everything there. So I'll just remove everything from here and paste it here. We want to keep only like anything that's not related to Three.js here. So these animate in and out are not related. These are like for animation stuff, and we want to keep them there. That's the whole point of it. We want to keep Three.js only separate from everything else. And then this render here, just for so that it makes more sense, I'm gonna rename this to update, and then update. And let's see, we've moved everything from this file there. We obviously need to import 3 and do orbit control in this file. These are everything that I explained in my previous video. So again, what happened here is that I have my canvas entry point here. If I have Three.js stuff in like different pages, I will be creating the entry point to those specific files. For example, this one here, canvas, the index.js under Three.js in here. So if I had another page, for example, about page, and I was trying to add a canvas there to render my scene and everything, I would also have another like create about here, where I would create everything related to the Three.js stuff in the about page in here. So just pause the video if you want to just go back and see what I've done. But basically that's what we are doing here. We are similar to what we did with index.js here in our main index.js file, and directing everything to a specific home from there, to a specific page from there. We are doing the same in this index.js, our entry point for canvas also. So that's that. Let's see, then I have my index.js, the main index.js. I've created Three.js canvas also here. Now we need to call this create Three.js here. So we haven't called that yet. Where do we need to call that? The places that we need to call that is basically in our index.js entry point directly under the app folder. We need to add the canvas create after our preloading is done. So let's see, here is my preloader is completed, and then here I can add this .canvas.create. That's the first place. Then let's see, and the next place that I need to add that will be when we are changing from one page to another. And this is when we are loading that page with canvas in it, like directly our endpoint is this like here. But if we are, for example, we load the website from the home page, and then we are moving from home page to Three.js page, we also need to create this canvas there. I do need to add the template also, since if you remember, we have this template here that we need to pass. That's good. I'm sorry, I meant this one here for create. And then for transitioning from one page to another one, this is like on local link click. That's the function we're taking care of, going from one page to another. And so here I'm going to do this canvas dot create again here, and passing my template, and this dot template here. Let's see, I think that's about it. So we're doing that. If we save this right now, and then we have this here, save this. Let's see what problems we're gonna be facing. So it seems like this here didn't throw any errors. Let's go to Three.js and see what we have here. So it seems like I'm seeing everything. It's good. If we go directly to Three.js, let's see if we go to our home page, and then we still get like an error here. It says destroyed Three.js is not a function. So why we see that is because in our canvas here, the template is not Three.js. Template is home there, so it's trying to destroy Three.js. And if we want to do that, we need to define this destroy Three.js also. And that's gonna be a similar function to create Three.js, except that we are going to define this destroy function inside the Three.js canvas here. So let's save that. Now we don't have this destroy function in canvas here. We need to add that also here. I'm going to add my destroy function here. Now this destroy function, I've done a lot of Google search, and I've basically found that to get rid of everything in your Three.js, like the geometries, the material and everything, this is the best way to do it. Basically, if you go to the Three.js website documentation, they have a page about how to dispose of objects like geometries, materials, textures, and all that. I found that this one is probably the best way to destroy everything in your scene. And this is from a Stack Overflow post. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it right now. I had found it like a long time ago, and now if I find the link, I'll definitely post it in the description of this video. But what it does is it kind of loops through all the children of our scene, and if there are like objects there, it's gonna remove those objects, like those geometries, and you can see like it's gonna dispose them eventually, the geometries, and then it's also gonna get rid of all the material that we have, and this is the code to do that. So I don't get into details of this, but I've found that this is the best way to get rid of, like dispose everything in your scene. So I'm gonna save this. Let's go back to localhost 3000 here and see what we have here. So seems like that error is gone when we load from the home page. If you go to Three.js, let's see if we see stuff there. Okay, we do see this thing here, so it seems like everything is working. Let's go back home. That is working. and then let's go back to 3 again, just trying to make sure everything is working. Okay, things are working. If we just enter the website directly there, it's also working, so everything is good. But I'd like to add a little bit more of refactoring to this thing, because right now the way the code is only for like is only good for if we have only one page that's using like a 3JS like scene or objects or things like that. If we had multiple of them, I prefer for example, in this canvas 3.js, we have this update field here. I actually prefer to call this update in our index.js file, like our original index.js in app folder. And to do that, I will basically move that update function here. And I'm gonna add a few things there, but just to show you what I mean. So if we have a canvas, and if that canvas has an update function, we're gonna go ahead and call that update function. And if not, we're just like requesting animation frame. So what we did here in our canvas 3JS here, we are going to remove this part here because we are going to call this from our home page. So from our main index.js file, which is here. So I'm going to add that here. So I have this update. When I start the page, when I load the page, it's gonna call the update function. And then it's gonna go look at this canvas, and this canvas is basically this entry point for canvas. Where is it? Here, canvas. So we also need to add an update function here, and this will again direct everything to the specific page. So we can add a similar thing as we had before. If this.3js includes an update function, go and look at that and update it. And that's what we have here. I'm gonna close this one, we don't need that. And we have an update function here, so it's gonna get that. So what we did is we are calling the update function from our entry point, which is this index.js under app folder. And then if we have a canvas and that canvas has an update function, we're gonna go to that canvas, and we do have an update function. If our 3JS, what we built here, also has an update function, we'll go in there and find that, and this is where we do the rendering, update, and everything. So if I save all of these files, save all, and then go back, let's see if it still works. So if we go directly to 3JS, it works. If we go back to home and then try and let's say actually we go to about page here, and then we go back to home. I'm just trying to see like multiple scenarios and make sure it's working. Now we go to 3JS. It is still working, so everything is good. If our entry point is our home page, we don't see an error. Perfect. And then we go to 3JS, and our scene, everything is there. So everything seems to be working fine. Again, the reason I moved the update function to our entry point is that, for example, if we have another page with its own renderer and everything, we want to call that here also. So like let's say we have another page like about page, and in that about page we also have some Three.js stuff. Then here we would say like if this dot about, go to this dot about dot update, so that we are making sure we are doing those updates, just to kind of make it easier for you to follow. I suggest like put some console.logs and see what's being called and what order they are being called. That probably will help you to understand the whole thing, and that helped me obviously a lot. The next thing we are gonna do is, one thing left is about resizing the page. Now this is not gonna like happen when you're like someone opens a website. They probably are not going to like try and like resize their window or something like that, but they might do it. And right now what we have is not good, because you can see that like our object is not resizing with what we are doing here with the page resizing. So we're gonna take care of that. It's gonna be also a similar thing as update. What we need to do in our index.js file, we need to listen for a resize event. So that's easy. We're gonna do window add event listener resize, and then obviously we want to add that immediately after. So we're gonna have an onResize function, which is gonna be called when we resize our page. And here we're gonna define that it's gonna be very similar to the update function. So what we do here, if we have a resize function in our canvas, we're gonna go there. Here in our canvas, again very similar to this actually, you can just copy and paste it here. We can call this resize on resize, and then what's gonna happen eventually, that's gonna go to our main page, which is our Three.js page. Here I'm gonna have to handle that resize. So what are we gonna do here? When you're resizing your Three.js scene, basically you need to update a few things. First thing is your width and height, and in order to get the new updated width and height, all you need to do is just get that canvas offset again. So easily, as we did here initially, we got the canvas offset width and height. We can do the same here. These are gonna be our new width and height. And if I console.log it, what was that? Sorry. So here console.log this width. Normally our height, well, in this case our height is not gonna change because I'm just going to resize the width. Let's see if that works. Yeah, you can see that like it's showing me that our size is change, our width is changing, and that's what I want to see. And then once that's changed, we need to set our render size, because that is also dependent on the width and height, as we saw up here. And then we can like reset the pixel ratio also. And finally we need to also fix our camera's aspect ratio, and because that's also related to our width and height. And for that to take into effect, we need to call this function update projection matrix so that it updates our camera projection and everything. So that's that. Let's see if now this works. So I'm entering at this endpoint 3JS. If I change it, you can see these axes are also moving. So it seems like it's working. It's resizing the object also with our window resize. If I comment this out, if you remember, it is going to only just like, it's not going to resize our scene or object or anything. It's not moving. But now with this function here, with this unresize function here, that is going to work. Let's see. Yep, so we see that works. Now again, we need to make sure that if our entry point is home, and then we go to our 3JS, does this still work or not? Let's see. So I'm here, it seems like it's still working. Now if I go back to home and then go to 3JS, this works. Let's see, the resize also works. So it seems like everything is working. If you notice that for some reason, some of these, like if you navigate between different pages, it's not working, you might need to add like another resize in your entry index.js file. Let's see, where do we need that? We might need that after our preloader is done. So like for example here, after our canvas, like maybe before this is created, we can also do on resize here. But right now it seems like we don't need it, but I just put it here in case like sometimes these don't work. Make sure like you add these functions whenever they're needed or wherever they're needed. So that should basically wrap this video up. So now you have this code here, and what we have done is, if you have another page, let's say like an about page, or like in your home page you also have some 3JS stuff, all you need to do is to create those 3JS stuff in your index.js directly under canvas, and then like you'll create a folder called home, and then under that you'll have another index.js file, so that you can keep all the 3JS stuff separate from your like other things that you had, like animation, everything else. You can just easily keep building on top of this and add your stuff on top of this kind of like boilerplate. And that's what I've done for my portfolio website. Also, if you go to my portfolio website, you can see on this first page, home page, this is like a 3JS scene. I have that, and basically when I navigate to about page, I'm destroying everything in my home page, and then I'm creating this. Now this is also 3JS. This object, this is like a sphere, so a sphere geometry. We have box in our app that we just built, but now in my website I have like sphere here, and everything else, like even if I go to contact, I'm destroying all this that sphere and the texture, the earth texture on top of it, and then I'm creating this. So we gotta make sure that we destroy all the other scenes and 3JS stuff and only create the one that we are showing right now here, just to make sure it helps with performance as well. Alrighty, so I think that's all about it. I will put the final code for this also on GitHub. It's gonna be this part 2 final, and you can download it. Make sure if there are things that you don't understand, the best way for me is to like put some console.logs and like keep tracking what's happening, and I suggest you do the same. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment in the comment box below. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell as well. That's all. I'll be doing more 3JS related videos in the upcoming days and weeks, and then later on as well. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you guys soon.